Let's get started. The Design Development Review Commission is made up of volunteers with expertise or interest in historic preservation and design. We generally meet on the second Thursday of the month to review cases. Staff to the commission are our urban design and historic preservation staff. They are available to answer questions if you have them, but please do not interrupt proceedings if you do indeed need to speak with them. The meeting generally proceeds with the staff calling the case and describing it. I will call for the applicant to come forward afterward to add to the basic description of the request if necessary, or if the applicant wishes to do so. If so, the applicant should keep the presentation to 10 minutes or less. The commissioners will then have the opportunity to ask questions. At this point, I will ask if there is anyone in the audience who wishes to speak for or against the proposal. Audience comments shall be kept to 2 minutes per person. If there is, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond, and this rebuttal shall not exceed 5 minutes. In most of the cases, we will make a decision tonight after all information has been presented. If your case is denied, or if you feel that our decision was made in error, you and anyone withstanding have the opportunity to appeal it within 30 days of the decision. If you plan to speak about a specific project, you must have signed in. The sheet is at the back of the room. Also, and so that members of the public understand, commissioners are under strict instructions to avoid discussing DDRC meetings and applications with members of the public or with each other outside of these proceedings to avoid ex parte communications. If you wish to speak during the course of these proceedings, please stand and raise your right hand. Nobody? Okay. You affirm to tell the truth in these proceedings? Could staff please call the roll?
Certainly, Mr. Broom, Mr. Cohn, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Fuller-Wilt.
Here.
Mr. Savory.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to recuse myself for the consent agenda, and I will let Mr. Broom take that. I'll come and get me after the consent agenda is over.
Will do.
I would ask that you speak up after the consent agenda is read, and we can pull the item for discussion on the regular agenda. Staff, please.
Items on the consent agenda are 1406 Confederate Avenue, a request for preliminary certification for the Bailey Bill in Cottontown, Bellevue Architectural Conservation District. 1215 Blossom Street, a request for design approval for new construction in City Center Design Development District. 1523 Green Street, LeConte College, University of South Carolina, a request for design approval for renovations to an existing building in the City Center Design Development District. 2510 Main Street, request for design approval for renovations to an existing structure and site improvements in the North Main Corridor Design Overlay. 901 Hardin Street, a request for design approval for addition to an existing structure in the Five Points Urban Design District. 700 Gervais and 1100 Wayne Street, a request for design approval for changes to an approved design in the Innovista Design District, West Gervais Historic Commercial District. 2411 Cypress Street, a request for design approval for an addition and exterior changes and preliminary certification for the Bailey Bill in Old Shandon, Lower Waverly Protection Area A. And finally, 1530 Main Street, Suite C, a request for design approval for exterior alterations to an individual landmark.
Is there anyone who wishes to take an item off the consent agenda for discussion? Anyone? All right. Motion to approve the consent agenda and the November meeting minutes.
I'll make the motion that we approve the consent agenda as it stands and the meeting minutes from November.
Second.
Can we take a vote?
Mr. Broom?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Fuller-Wilt?
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you. While we're waiting for Mr. Savory to return, I'll just note a few changes to the agenda. Under the regular agenda, the 1700 block of Calhoun Street, intersection of Calhoun and Talley Streets, has been deferred. So that item will not be heard tonight, as well as the executive session. So we will move straight to our first project under the regular agenda.
Very good. Please proceed.
This case is for a new
I
construction.
don't think your microphone is on, or we can't hear you.
This case is for a new construction in the Old Shandon Lower Waverly Protection Area located at 2212 Senate Street. This is currently a vacant lot located in a semi-loss area at Lower Waverly. This proposed project is a one-story, front-gabled, bungalow-style, single-family house. The house will have a brick foundation, exterior walls will be clad in hardy plank, and the roof will have a standard architectural shingles. There is also a proposed concrete driveway that will approach from the left of the house and will be no more than 12 feet wide. The new construction will be set back from the street 20 feet, which is consistent with neighboring houses. The proposed new construction generally complies with the guidelines and respects the historic characteristics found on Senate Street, as well as the broader characteristics of the district. However, there are some details of the proposed design which are found to not comply with the guidelines. First, the front massing, consisting of a porch bay and gabled wing, are not consistent with the majority of historic examples found throughout the district. Generally, historic houses that do feature a porch bay and gable wing are along the same plane. In the slide, you can see 2208 Senate Street is the neighbor directly to the right of 2212 Senate Street, and 2312 Santee is an example from elsewhere in the district. There are insufficient examples of historic houses in the district where a wing extends extensively beyond the end of the porch, such as the design submitted by the applicant. Second, the proposed window placement is not consistent with the rhythm and proportion found on historic examples in the district. More windows will be needed on the side elevations and should be consistent with historic examples found throughout. Staff recommends the following conditions for approval. The form and ratio of the front facade should be more in line with historic examples by extending the left bay forward to meet the right gabled wing. All windows to be consistent in size and spacing. Windows on the front elevation adjusted to be consistent in size. Windows along the left elevation to include 3 single or 2 paired windows. Windows along the right elevation to include a combination of paired and single windows or 4 single windows. Final design approval of rhythm of openings deferred to staff, and all other details deferred to staff. And I would like to make a final note based on recent communication with the applicant. He has recently provided pictures of windows, which I've provided the printouts for you. These are good examples of historic window placement within the area, and we would be happy to review any revised elevations that he could provide us based on these examples that he has recently given. Also, in a recent communication with the applicant in regards to the front facade, the main concern being here is how far that right bay extends beyond the porch. It's currently at 12 feet, which extends 6 feet further from the porch. We would recommend, or the applicant has expressed being open to extending the porch to better meet that plane, but we would, to keep the historic accuracy in line, we would like to not have the porch extend more than 9 feet in total, making the difference between the porch and that right bay no more than 3 feet.
Thank you. I think the answer is obvious, but is the applicant here? I think the applicant has left the building. given that, maybe, let me make a suggestion, and then I'll open it to discussion and for somebody to make a motion. I think that I would agree with all of the staff recommendations. I think that there is enough that would change that I would recommend that perhaps we, at this point, maybe defer this, let the applicant make revisions per staff recommendations, and bring this back at the next meeting. I'll open that to discussion, or if anybody would like to make a second.
So that's a motion, I can just second that? Is that what you're saying?
I could make it a motion. I move that we defer this application so that the applicant can make the recommended changes, working with staff, per the information that we received, that the applicant is amenable to doing that, and bring it back at a future DDRC meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Could we have a vote, please?
Certainly. Mr. Broom?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Fuller-Wilt?
Yes.
Mr. Savory?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Do we have any more business?
I just wanted to mention that another member has been appointed, Mr. Sanford Dinkins, to the commission, so we hope that he'll be ready to start in January. So anyway, we'll get him ready.
Very good.
And we should see him in January.
Can you tell me which seat he's filling?
He has council elected to appoint him to the planner position.
Is he a planner?
He is not. He is an engineer.
Civil engineer.
Is that an acceptable substitution
That
by
was
the
a-
bylaws, or?
That was a council decision outside of my
Okay.
ability. I don't. The bylaws call for a certified. I believe it calls for a certified planner.
But he's not.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Thank you.
I think the appointments of city council are the appointments, right? As far as I
Those are the
understand.
appointments.
Okay. Any other business? I have a motion to adjourn.
I want to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for being
Adjourned.
here, and I hope you guys have a great holiday.
Thank you. You too.
Motion.